It's so interesting because I think the people who live in New Orleans and do the show all the time are like, I think especially the newer comics, I think they sort of assume that every scene has a show like this.
Mm-hmm.
And there might be shows that are similar to it, but like we've really like zeroed in on what the show is.
Mm.
And so my point is, there these out of town comics, they don't know what the show is about,
Right. Yeah.
and they're all really good.
Yep.
And so when you drop a really good comic into the universe of Open Mic from Hell, it's like good shit usually comes out of it.
It was fun to watch them sort of have to adjust, which is
Yeah.
always one of the fun things about that show anyways, is watching how the improv affects the comedian's set and approach to begin with.
Yeah, well, I mean, the best thing about improv comedy when it works is that everyone is in on the creation of the show. Like you're watching it materialize and heighten and succeed or fail, and that's part of it. And there's an illusion of that in stand-up comedy because a great comic can make it seem like they just thought of these things in the moment.
Right.
But the truth is that it's not. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. The truth is that it's not. And so Open Mic from Hell is like a bridge between those two worlds because
Yeah.
you are seeing these comics deal with things in the moment. You are seeing something like materialize, unfold in the moment, and it's still stand-up.
I enjoy too sort of seeing how each individual adapts to the sort of awkward element of them not really knowing necessarily how they're going to make the square peg fit into the round hole when they get up to the stage, sometimes too. And
Yeah.
it's really cool to see certain things just sort of organically happen because of that. One of the things I've wondered, and maybe I was thinking about this the other day, was is it better, do you think, for a comedian when they come up on stage during Open Mic from Hell to have an idea of maybe a possible set, but then to maybe be open to the idea that no set at all is the best plan?
That's a great question. I don't recommend coming in completely neutral. I mean, if you're really good, you're able to, you have a bunch of sets and paths in your brain. And when I give you the preacher challenge or the pro wrestler challenge, you're like, oh, it would be funny if the pro wrestler challenge was my bit about depression.
Gotcha.
And so you can do it really quickly.
Yeah.
But if you're not really good, I think that's a little dangerous.
Yeah.
I think you should know what your set is and then do it no matter what the challenge is.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Because I think the audience wants to see that square peg into a round hole.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun to watch. It's because of that extra element of the improv is one of my favorite things about that show, to see how people adjust to that.
Yeah, and also you may have seen it last night. There's a few people who, and I'm saying this in a charming way. I'm not saying that they did anything wrong, but were sort of skeptical of what we were doing, but were themselves while trying to do the show on their terms. And
Yeah.
even though I would say they didn't really commit to the challenge, it was still really funny because the audience is seeing this person in real time try to process what the show is.
Right.
And that itself is funny, on top of the comic being funny, on top of the show being a funny environment. So it's just like, I keep saying this, but it's true. I feel like the show is nearly bulletproof.
It's a lot of fun, man.
Yeah.
And so you feel, with that being said, you're coming off of finishing your Hell Yes Fest week.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that right now?
I feel great. Hell Yes Fest 12 in the books. It was all the things I want a festival to be, honestly. Like the amount of out-of-town comics who told me that they loved New Orleans. Half of them had never been here before.
Cool.
They're going to come back, whether it's for comedy or not. But I feel like I just want the out-of-town comics to have a good time. I want New Orleans to shine because New Orleans is the main character for the festival, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And we put audience in seats to watch these comedians tell their jokes. We went out, we had fun. It really, all the boxes were checked.
I really wanted to linger last night because I was curious. Did you guys go over to Will and the Way again afterwards last night, or?
Yeah, we love the Will and the Way for the after party, but we didn't go there. There was a private event, so we went
Gotcha.
across the street to Molly's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
Molly's. It's it's a good like standard issue normal bar.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm not saying that in a derogatory way. Sometimes you need just a normal bar to go and have conversations.
Sure.
Play some pool, drink non-expensive drinks.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
And so all the comedians they left today figure.
Well, a lot of them stayed. Actually, a lot of them stayed till Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah.
But a good number of them left. But yeah, the amount of compliments I got, not just the festival, but about the city was great. And there are people from Seattle, Alaska, New York, Chicago, LA, of course, all the big comedy spots, but like Iowa and small town Illinois, somewhere in Florida, from all over, and everyone was so happy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the other. I know for sure I can relate to this aim of wanting to make sure that the folks that we have come into this town or these creatives from other spaces, that they, when they leave, that they take some level of like appreciation, love, excitement, whatever, about this place, so that whether they come back or don't come back, at least we know that wherever they go to, they're maybe wanting to come back or at least saying good things about us.
Yeah, and honestly, I have a huge advantage doing this in New Orleans because New Orleans is great,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Totally.
And so I like set it up and then get out of the way.
And that's the great thing. We just gotta let them loose in the theme park.
Yeah.
And make sure that they don't get arrested or killed or robbed or whatever while
Right.
they're out there. But
Right.
that's, as you get older, hopefully that gets a little easier.
Yeah, well, there was one comic who had a hotel on Chef Mentor in New Orleans East who could have sworn it was the French Quarter. And he got rides out there. He got dropped off in places he shouldn't have gotten dropped off at.
Oh, no.
He was very confused because
Where was he from?
He's from Las Vegas.
Sick.
Yeah. So he was cool with being.
He should be able to handle.
He was cool with being confused and twisted around. But when you're booking a hotel in New Orleans, and you see the description, on hotels.com say, minutes from the French Quarter. Sometimes they mean 25 minutes from the French Quarter or 30 minutes. Yeah. And that can happen sometimes. That happened to my guy Keith, but he had a great time.
Nice.
But he could have sworn. And also, the hotel probably was like called, I don't know, like Saxophone Inn or something. So it's it's gotta be in the French Quarter. It's like, no, it was not. It was not.
The Jazz Hotel, minutes away from the French Quarter. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I get the same anxiety every time I go to the beach. Because you go to the beach in Gulf Shores area. I mean, probably wherever, but growing up here was always Gulf Shores area.
Yeah.
It's like I get, as an adult booking a hotel on the beach, I get anxiety because I'm like, minutes from the beach means it is not on the beach for sure. Even like by the beach doesn't mean by the beach.
Bay St. Louis, I learned that.
They need to say in writing, bold and italics, like, this place is literally on a beach.
Well, do you ever open up the map?
I've started doing that this year, actually.
Okay, cool.
But I also, Gabe, I don't fully trust that either, man.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Especially if you're on Airbnb or whatever. It's it's in this area. I'm like, well, this is the worst news I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
In this area, I might be 20 minutes from the beach.
Yeah.
Not into it. I'm trying to be on the beach. I want to be in the sand. I want a hotel in the sand.
Well,
Gabe.
It feels like your mind is kind of already leaning towards this idea of some form of like relief and maybe like, I don't know if rest is the word, but unplugging things that kind of like outside of our work that give us energy and make us feel like recharged. And so I know that you're excited about the beach, but one of those things that we share in common is our love for pro wrestling.
Yes.
And you mentioned to me that you went ahead and kind of looked into the most recent John Cena AJ Styles match here at Crown Jewel that just happened as well.
Yeah, it's rare. So I did a thing I don't like doing, which was I didn't have time to watch it. I wanted to know what was happening, and so I went on ChatGPT and was like, give me a.
You asked AI about the summary of the AJ Styles John Cena
well,
match?
No. It's actually not as bad as that. It actually makes a little bit more sense. But I said, give me a direct link to a recap that does not have spoilers
Okay.
in like the title, or I don't want you to spoil it.
Yeah.
And so I got the video in. So I actually, you can watch a football game now that is like just the plays. So
I
a
believe that.
3-hour game
Wow.
turns into like 30 minutes
Wow.
or whatever of just like boom, 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 quick.
Okay.
So it was basically like that for the show.
Oh, yeah.
And so
For all a crown jewel?
most.
Yeah.
And anyway, so that was very helpful. But I have very few times have I done a recap video like this and then actually said, I have to go back and watch that.
Oh,
and that's the AJ
yeah.
Styles, John Cena, the highlights they showed. I was like, I got to go back and watch the story.
I feel like such an asshole because I totally was dissing AJ Styles, I think, to you, a few months ago.
You were like, I don't get it.
Yeah, I didn't really,
Yeah.
because I grew up around so many dudes in my family from Georgia and southern Georgia, and northern Georgia look just like AJ Styles, except they don't have the long hair.
Yeah.
And they've got the exact same hot dog looking skin. They're kind of like.
If they have a baby, they're
My boy
tattooing
has
that name on
expanded a
their
bit like a balloon since he was
Yes.
young,
Yeah, sure.
And so I wasn't really feeling him. And then I watched this match, and I was like, I'm never again going to say anything bad about that dude again.
I think we started to watch AJ Styles slowly morph. Maybe actually not slowly. Maybe it's rapidly, which is why it's weird. But rapidly morph into an old timer wrestler.
Yeah, he's retiring next year now.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so it's just it's he's one of the high people who love AJ Styles love his athleticism and love his showmanship. And
I get it.
People were kind of like, this is like a new Shawn Michaels for a while.
Totally see that.
And I think the personalities are not aligned.
Not at all.
But you could see why that was on the table for a while.
Yeah, and that match was just one of the most common terms that I saw people using for it was they said it was like a love letter to wrestling fans.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So, especially for anyone listening or watching who doesn't follow
It's like, what
wrestling,
the fuck? They've already tuned out because they had no idea anymore.
but if you're here, if you're still here with us, this is for everybody. But if you're still here with us, let's go this route, Gabe, because wrestling is so interesting that it's an art form that is able to seamlessly call back its own history in the moment.
Totally.
That can teach fans something about the past that maybe they didn't know about.
Yep.
Honor people who have passed maybe before their time,
Yeah.
while also being incredibly entertaining in the present. And there's nothing like that.
No, it's a extremely unique art form. And I get a lot of various confused and passionate responses from folks that aren't fans of wrestling whenever this is brought up, because a lot of my art world friends that are not as hip to wrestling are extremely confused by this. And one of the things that I tend to say a lot is that it's like, well, I actually think that in some ways that pro wrestling is, and this is still going to upset people, is a higher art form than a lot of the stuff that I experience that I see coming out of New York right now in the major gallery systems, because those things, I don't pay attention to them at all. They're boring. And also they're basically, once again, strictly for the idea of class structure reinforcement. Whereas pro wrestling is actually universal by this point in terms of the audience and the types of folks that are fans of it. Because the average person that maybe doesn't like pro wrestling or doesn't pay attention at all assumes, I think, in their brain a certain kind of audience when they think of pro wrestling. But you and I know that whenever you look at those audiences now, it's fucking everybody.
Yes.
Of all class level, shape, form,
Yes.
everything.
Yes.
And I think it's only continuing to kind of grow more and more to be that way.
Yeah, and I think also, there's so many other art forms where it's you say, if someone said to me, did you see the new Spider-Man? I would say, I don't watch superhero movies.
Right.
And to me that makes sense, but in wrestling, if someone says, I don't watch wrestling, it's not what you think. It's not just men pretending to hit each other.
Yeah.
And maybe someone could argue that Spider-Man, for example, is also not that.
Right.
But I feel like pro wrestling is so much more nuanced.
Totally.
It's it's a male soap opera. It's yeah, and many other things.
And also women's soap opera at this point, too.
Right, or it's it's a fake sport. It's
and all these
sure.
indie little leagues now, too, that are actually queer centric and gay
Yes.
centric, like pro wrestling leagues, and cross-dressing pro wrestling like production. So, I think that it's about theater, it's about athleticism, and I think that there's a like part of our brain that I think goes all the way back to this notion of the Coliseum and things before the Coliseum. So I think there's this inherent thing built into the human experience that witnessing two heroes or a hero and a villain battling in a squared circle or in an arena or in a Coliseum, it's built into us as a species, I think.
Yeah.
So it plays off that, I think. But it's at this point, it's so fascinating to me because the other element of it is not just the theater and the stunt performances and all that. It's the logistics of what's happening with these leagues is fucking bonkers. When you're thinking about production-wise, how many things they're doing every week, how often they're traveling, it's totally nuts, this industry.
Yeah, and there's so much to talk about in this world, and I would love to keep talking about this with you, Gabe.
I think though that we need an appropriate setting.
Yeah. What if we had a conversation about pro wrestling at like a really fancy restaurant?
Yeah,
because we're surrounded by them. But by the way, we're in Jackson Square in New Orleans, the
Lovely
cathedral right behind us. Why don't we walk somewhere around here and continue having? Let's have a classy conversation about pro wrestling.
Yes, a classy conversation about pro wrestling. What
Yes.
a great way to describe it.
Yes.
We're going to get very classy with our pro wrestling here.
Love
Let's
it.
go get some oysters and some cocktails.
Yeah, and Hell Yes Fest 13 will be coming at y'all 2026. I'm going to start working on that really soon. I appreciate you asking me about the festival. And thanks for being there last night.
Yeah, it was fun
and
as hell.
producer Steve behind the camera was also there last night. It's a great audience for the final show. So
Yeah,
very
anyone
pleased.
that's coming to town that might see this, if it's Sunday or Monday, check and see if Open Mic from Hell is going on at Sluice Theater, because it goes on pretty regularly there, and it's definitely worth checking out. It's a great way to end your dinner. I always go there after dinner, and it's like perfect.
Love it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
See y'all in a minute.
Bye.